Hi, Jeremiah, Steps Pressure Washing and More, out here in beautiful Andrew, North Carolina. And we're going to do a video today about my everyday carry. It is a ST2605, and this one we actually got back in 2021. It has been a kind of a mainstay of every single wash we do, but we're going to talk a little bit about the gun, the lance, trigger, whatever you want to call it. Along with a little bit of my setup up here with my two M5 twists. So hang on, we're going to get this thing started. When we got started, we actually had a stock lance right here. As you can see, this thing is pretty huge and unwieldy. This came with the pressure washer we purchased, and it really was hard to use. You definitely had to use, it was a situation where you really had to use both hands to control it because it's so long and it sticks so far out in front of you. It pulls down on your wrist and forearm if you are only doing one hand. So you really have to dedicate your other hand to holding the front of the lance to take off that weight right up here. This worked pretty well. You know, we were not, doing videos or anything like that. I definitely found myself pulling the hose with this a lot, but it worked for what it was needed for. Then I had a concrete job. We did a whole restaurant patio area during our first season, and it absolutely killed my hand. I couldn't grip things for about 2 days really easily. I lost most of the strength. It just wore that muscle out of constantly holding this lever in the trigger. So we went ahead and broke down, and this one we got this ST2605. I got this because of its reduced spring on the trigger, and also once it gets back to its fully engaged position, it doesn't pull against your hand anymore, which the other one I have does. And so what I found was once I get that trigger pulled back, I just hold this in place as I'm washing, and it actually really helps when you're doing it all day. So I found out really quick when I had my first big job. It wasn't just like one house, then come home and count my money and say, wow, what a great job I did. I actually had to work all day on that job, and when you're working all day, you have to have things to reduce the fatigue. So this right here was an absolute lifesaver once we went into our first spring. And we still have that lance just as a backup because this is my only option other than the stock lance. I always want to have a backup, and preferably a backup for our backup. When I bought this, I ordered it online. It did not come with either of the quick connect fittings, so I had to go ahead and pick those up, install them myself. That was really not hard at all, just a little bit of thread tape and a wrench that took care of the job. So right here, this is the combo that I use every day for pressure washing. So we do the downstream injector to do a soft wash, and what we have here, we have the M5 downstream, and this is our soap nozzle. It allows low pressure so that it engages our soap, and this is for the 3 to 7 gallon per minute machines. Then we have down here, we have our X-Jet, and as you can see, we have that barb down on the bottom, and that is for a chemical injection. And when you are not hooked up to a chemical line on that barb, it'll actually mix air with your water, but the whole thing creates high enough pressure to shut off the soap at the downstream injector. And then right here we have a 3 nozzle. It actually was a 4 nozzle, but it broke. It works fine this way. A 3 nozzle JROD holder, and that allows me with just enough gap between these two that I'm able to use the twist on each one. And as I'm going through my day, let me pick my gun back up here. As I'm going through my day, if I'm on rinse mode, I'll have it hooked up to that X-Jet, and then I will disconnect the quick connect fitting and then hook it up to my soaper, the M5 downstream, run the line until I have soap coming, and then I'm ready to roll. Everything is all contained right here. When we were doing a JROD, we always used the X-Jet as a rinse tool. It just works so well. Plus with the M5 twist, I'm able to use it for a second story and down low, and it's worked really well for a really long time. So I made sure to incorporate that into this system. And I really was hoping to get something by XJet. The M5 downstream was also made by XJet. So it's really, they function exactly the same. So my soap nozzle and my rinse nozzle are able to reach the same distance at the same pattern. And so it's just, it speeds things up a lot. And that's it. I may actually end up doing a swivel on the back of here, because one thing I did mention with the longer lance was I had to use my second hand to hold the front of the lance, but I don't have to do that with this. It's very well balanced. I'm able to hold it without fatigue on my forearm. Now, of course, there's a certain amount of fatigue. It's not an easy job, but it is a lot easier if you have the right tools to do it with and professional equipment. This setup right here, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't cheap, but it has made doing multiple jobs much easier. With it being a lot shorter, I don't have that pull on the forearm like I did with the longer lance, so I'm able to have my other hand free. And what I do is I actually will put my left hand behind my back and hold the pressure hose. So as I'm walking around, this is not getting pulled by the pressure hose as I'm walking, and I have just enough slack to do what I need to do, and I walk around pulling the pressure hose with my other hand. So highly recommend the ST2605. It has served me well. I'm going to put links for everything in the description below, but I highly recommend it. Alright, well that's going to do it on my review here. If you guys have any other questions, just give me a comment. Y'all be safe out there.